All right, it's another episode of the Cedric Maxwell podcast. I am Josue Pavon. He is Cedric Maxwell. Just touched down in Miami for the Eastern Conference Finals. That's right, going down tonight. Game 1 between the Celtics and the Heat. We're here to recap an incredible Game 7, incredible series between the Celtics and the Bucks before we look ahead to Game 1 in this matchup against the Miami Heat. But Max, how are we feeling, man? You're in Miami now. You're far from Milwaukee where you were for Game 6. We'll get into that too as well, because we got to talk about what Jayson Tatum did over there in Milwaukee. But man, what a performance in Game 7 from Grant Williams. The performance of his career, 27 points in this one, 7 3-pointers. Those Bucks were challenging him to shoot, and he didn't disappoint. He kept shooting, and man, did it go a long way for this Boston Celtics team. They won against the Milwaukee Bucks, a blowout, 109-81. By the fourth quarter, Paul Pierce and them was dancing. Max, I know your son was in the building. Man, take me through Game 7. What was it like for you at TD Garden?
Great. Game 7 was so exciting. Like you said, first of all, you're a little nervous. Celtics went down by 10, and then all of a sudden they got rolling. And once they tied the game, it seemed like Milwaukee never had an answer. Grant was incredible. He set a record, I think they're saying right now, 14. He attempted 14 3-pointers. And I think that's
18. 18, yeah.
18 3-pointers. And that's a record, more than Steph Curry's even done. So Grant Williams,
that's not bad for a guy from North Carolina, huh? That's not bad. Two guys from North Carolina.
They dared him on from corner to corner. And then he got a little bit more bold. He started shooting out on the sides. And but Grant was fantastic. And the Bucks just said, if you can make it, you're going to beat us. And that's essentially what happened. Celtics were able to score, and Milwaukee couldn't score. It was really kind of hard watching them. For them, they only scored 8. Giannis to do what he did, and it just seemed like at the end of the day, Giannis just ran out of gas. He had nothing. He was missing layups. Shots that he normally makes, Giannis is missing those around the hoop.
Yeah, I felt the same way too, Max, especially by the end of that third quarter. It felt like the type of game where he needed that supporting cast to come through in a big way, and it just didn't happen. And I was wondering going into Game 7, is this going to be another does he have another 40-piece in him? You know, it would be 3 in a row if he were to pull that off in Game 7. Of course, that wasn't the case. He finished with just under 30 points. The Bucks lost. But yeah, Max, I'm with you on that one, man, about what you said about Grant Williams. They let him shoot, but I think what the Bucks overlooked was how contagious that outside shooting was going to be once he established that, right? Because Jayson Tatum got cooking, right? You had even Payton Pritchard off the bench was making a lot of threes as well. I thought Jaylen Brown had a heck of a game in terms of, just being consistent offensively, giving you 9 points in that third quarter when the Celtics really started to, create that big lead and separate themselves from the Bucks, man. The Celtics essentially never looked back after that in that huge third quarter.
They never looked back. And as you said, I think Coach Budenholzer, I think he did a great job, but he just ran out of cards to play. I mean, you look at the guys, he brought in Bobby Portis, and then they got a big lineup, but the big lineup wasn't guarding out on the post. I think that Brook Lopez started out early, looked like he was going to do some damage, and then nothing really happened there. And I think you look at the guard play. The guard play was torture. I mean, Grayson Allen did essentially nothing during this playoffs. And you look at all the other guys who were supposed to step up. Maybe Connaughton hit a few shots. But other than that, this team right now struggled to score the basketball.
Yeah, I thought the Milwaukee Bucks had that golden opportunity in Game 6 to close this out. But the Celtics just didn't let them. And I had you talk about having a bad feeling, in the beginning stages of Game 7. I was having a bad feeling after halftime thinking, man, the Celtics, they keep coming right back. I mean, the Bucks keep coming up with these big leads. The Celtics keep coming right back. The other way around. Sorry. The Bucks kept coming right back, and it felt like the Celtics just couldn't create enough space until that fourth quarter where Jayson Tatum just took over, man. That was a legendary performance by Tatum in my book, man. Saved the series for the Celtics. Man, what a heck of a fourth. 16 fourth quarter points. He finished with 46 in that one. Went toe-to-toe against these guys, against Giannis. Giannis threw one heck of a punch, but man, shout out to Tatum for punching right back and showing why he's one of the greats in this league right now. And he's letting everyone know right now. Top 10, top 5, wherever you have him, he's up there and rising for sure.
He stepped up to the table big time. shooting shots, knocking those down. But I've said about Tatum, he doesn't have to have 40, but he has to have an imprint on a game. And I've seen Larry Bird not have a good scoring game, but he have 19 rebounds or 12 assists. That is what has to happen when you are not scoring the basketball. And I think Tatum in game 3, nothing really happened there good for him. But after that, it seemed like he started getting on track.
Well, he was really patient throughout the series, right? You know, we've seen his skill as a playmaker. We saw a lot of that in the Brooklyn Nets series. We saw what Tatum can do when he's the primary target of an opposing defense, right? Triple team, double team. He doesn't get rattled the way he used to. I feel like he finds other ways to be impactful, whether it's finding guys, being the playmaker, gathering up 8, 6, 7, 8 assists in the first half before he gets himself going. But in this one against the Bucks, to exactly what you just said about finding other ways to be productive, you saw that, especially in that game 6 and throughout the series, and setting the tone on defense, man, talk about what he's meant to that side of things, right? Tatum has really put himself out there, really putting a lot of effort on that side of the floor. And it shows that not only does it resonate, but everyone else sort of picks up on that lead. It's not just about what Al's doing out there, what Rob was doing before he got hurt. He's also setting the tone as well. And I feel like that trickle effect is what we're seeing in these important games, especially in the postseason.
Well, I think you look at it, it's such a combination. And as you said, Al Horford was great in a game that the Celtics needed him to be. He went toe-to-toe and actually outplayed, those younger guys. You still look at what Brown has been doing. Understated, but still playing a great game. White has struggled offensively, but defensively, he's been pretty good.
He was solid.
They're going to need a guy like Peyton Pritchard. If Peyton Pritchard can score the basketball the way he did in Game 7, I tell you what, they're going to be in really good shape in attacking the rim and getting some things going.
That's a great way to transition into this matchup, right? Into the Eastern Conference Finals. Celtics Heat. A much different team compared to the Milwaukee Bucks, but let's start right there. What you just said about the guard play, the backcourt, if you will, and the second unit. I think this is a much deeper team compared to what we saw against the Milwaukee Bucks. But with that being said, they're guard heavy, right? You got guys that can score. I would love to see someone like Peyton Pritchard get a lot more comfortable out there and being that reliable guy off the bench to give you an offensive spark. Someone like Derek White, maybe he finds more of his offensive rhythm in this matchup, against the Heat, because between Max Struss and, Tyler Hero and, obviously we know who Jimmy Butler is, but that supporting cast, those guys can really get hot if the Celtics aren't careful. So the defense, obviously you want to see that carry over. Yeah. I also would like to see guys from the second unit pick things up on the offense for sure.
Strus has come in and he's played extremely well. Max Strus, and remember he was in camp with the Celtics, so he has a little needle that he's trying to poke at the Celtics too. And I think he's a better defender. He's been so good with what they've been able to do that Duncan Robinson has had a couple of DNPs. He hasn't even played.
Yep. And that's his fault.
Kyle Lowry, you don't know where he's going to be. Still the hamstring issue for him. But the guy that, could surprise you might be Victor Oladipo. Victor Oladipo has stepped back in and played great basketball. And here's a guy who was a standard bearer in this league for a minute when he was going. He was an all-star. Right. And then he got hurt, and then things happened. And then he went to Houston. Then he, bounced back and forth, and then finally ended up here. And they rehabbed him really well. And he seems to be very, very confident about what he's able to do. I mean, the one thing that, you said the other day, which I was on the bus, which was really surprising to me, was, like you said Marcus Smart in a boot. I was like, when did this happen? I was like,
I saw it after Game 7.
At the game, I'm like, I didn't see. And then the day when we got off the bus, we got off the plane, got off the bus, Marcus Smart was in front of me. I was like, damn, has he got a boot on? And yeah, he has a boot on. So hopefully it's a strain, and then they'll ice it, and they'll heat, stretch it out, and hopefully he'll be able to go, because you need him.
Yeah, you do, especially when you just named those guards that you just named, guys that can put the ball on the floor, guys who aren't just restricted to just shooting three-pointers. You need someone like that can stay in front of them. And that guy is, of course, Marcus Smart, a big part of the defense. And yeah, Ime was asked about it. Our Bobby Manning, CLNS Media's Bobby Manning asked him about it and about Marcus. And he said, yeah, Marcus has suffered a midfoot sprain. He's questionable for game one. He's not ruled out, but doing a little research on this type of injury, I mean, there's a good chance that he that 2 days, that 1 day off in between, or a couple of days between game 7 and game 1 may not be enough. So we might not see Marcus tonight, but the good news is that he did undergo an MRI, and the results are negative. So there's no structural damage there. That's always good news. But no one wants to hear Marcus Smart going through an MRI right before the Eastern Conference Finals. But that's just where we are, right? But yeah, man, I saw him wearing that boot, man. Yeah. I was like, I give him one of these, and Marcus was just like, we'll see what happens. This is obviously before the MRI. It's right after game 7. So luckily that news Monday morning was positive for Marcus, for sure.
Well, yeah, him being controlling the initial point of attack, Celtics going to need everything they have to beat this Miami team here. And I think that what you're looking for, if you are the Celtics, you want to try to get a split down here. Miami's going to be the rested team. Obviously, you had a grueling 7-game series, but sometimes when you continue to play, you don't get rusty. You go right back into it. Your body's on automatic. So I think the Celtics will be fine coming in. Not a lot of rest, but, down here in Miami, they had about a 3.5-hour flight, because with the delayed in Hanscom, then it was pretty much 3 hours plus getting down here. So probably a total of about 4 hours actually from the time we left Hanscom to the time we landed here in Miami, getting to the hotel. So a long day for this Celtic team, and then to get up and then to go have to play tomorrow night. But at least it's at 8:30. It gives you a little bit of a chance to rest, and it should be really good.
Yeah, for sure. I think it will be. The way these two teams match up, man, it's going to be a lot. And I just hope that physicality carries over from the Celtics, because what they've been doing on defense, they're going to need that against this Miami Heat team. This is a disciplined team. These guys can run. They've been through it. They can fight. They obviously went through the NBA Finals a couple of years ago, and here they are, Celtics and Heat, to top off this revenge tour, right, Max? The last time the Celtics were in the Eastern Conference Finals, it was against this Heat team that was led by Jimmy Butler. But what does Bam Adebayo play? What role does he play in all of this? Because let's face it, Max, he's not the same Bam we saw 2 years ago. At least he hasn't been playing like it. And,
I think what he is now.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, they changed their game. They will knock down a bunch of treys, and he is not a 3-point shooter. He's a guy who wants to attack the rim, and he will get offensive rebounds. So you've got to put a body on him. Daniel Tice, that was his nightmare. Bam just went through him during those times in the bubble.
In the bubble. Yeah, that's right.
Every time he got around Bam, it was a foul. So it'd be nice to have Al. I don't know where – I'm not sure right now how much you're going to get right now from Rob Williams. But he was on the sideline. He was jumping up and down for every jump.
Yeah, he was hyped.
So he was hyped about it. So I'm excited about the possibility of him maybe coming back and playing to get easier opportunities and to get some shot blockers around the rim.
Yeah, I think the Celtics are doing the right thing, though, especially going into a Game 7. It was great to hear the news of him being available, because it shows where he is in his progress. But that's a tough spot to put him in, right? Not playing for so many games in that series. Game 7, at TD Garden. And what would that say to someone like Grant Williams, right? You wanted to implement as much confidence as you could, which Ime did, by the way, right, in that first half, because he was being left wide open. It was too open for Grant. Yeah. He was a little uncomfortable with how open he was at the 3. I mean, he was hesitating. He was putting the ball on the floor, and Ime had to tell him, hey, let that thing fly. Keep shooting. I don't care how many it takes, but we trust you with that. Yeah. Look, Rob, I think in the later half of this series would be great to see, as he makes his way in terms of getting his stamina back. But for now, I'm with you, man. I think we don't see as much as him in these first 2 games in Miami. I don't think so.
The guy who stocks saying is you look at the other Williams and you said, man, Grant his stock is going up, because in today's NBA, he plays a perfect complementary role. He passes the ball. He knocks down shots. He's effective on the defensive end. He can stretch you out, but he's intelligent enough to drive towards the rim, shooting about 85-90% from the free throw line, about 40% from each corner from the 3-point line. He's been fantastic when you watch what he's been able to do and his ability to knock down shots.
So how you feeling this one, Max? Give me your prediction. Eastern Conference Finals prediction. This is the Final Four. Celtics are back in it. It's been 2 years, but these ain't the same pups we saw in the bubble a couple of years ago, right? So where do they stand in this series?
I like them in the series. I like them in 5. I think if they can come out, it's going to be critical. First game of the of this series is going to be critical down here because you want to get Miami on his hunches, back on his heels. And the thing that Miami, they're front runners, man. When things are going well, when you get Hero, dribbling, high stepping, and Jimmy Butler, what he does, this team, you need to punch them in the mouth early.
I'm with you, Max. I'm with you, and I'm with you in them splitting these first 2 games. I don't know if they can win both, but that physicality and being that aggressive on defense, I think that does carry over. And I see the Celtics stealing one. I do have the Celtics in 6, though. I think they wrap this up at TD Garden in Game 6. I don't think they go back for Game 7, which would be on Sunday. It would be on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, Max. It would be nice. A great way for Celtics fans to spend this Sunday seeing the Celtics win a Game 7. But I don't think it goes that far. I don't. I think the Celtics wrap it up in 6. But this isn't going to be easy. I think a lot of these games are going to be down to the wire, and it's going to really push the Celtics to get a lot more comfortable in those those last couple of minutes of regulation, where I feel like that's when they have to really buckle down defensively and make those decisions that sometimes they're not always comfortable with, right? I feel like a lot of the times the Celtics, when they were gathering when they're stacking up those wins and when they were really in stride, they were beating teams by 4 to 6, 7 points, or even more than that. It was a blowout. So I want them to get a little much more comfortable when the game is tighter, when it's only 2 minutes left to play.
Well, let me 2-point
game.
Let me ask
I think that happens in this series more often.
But let me ask you this, and I don't mean to, move on, but I'm going to move on a little bit. What the hell happened down in Phoenix?
No, we can go there. We can go there, Max, because I was dumbfounded, man. Coming back home, watching this thing, I'm like, does that score say what it really says?
Oh, you got to get on the score. Is that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was me.
It looks like, is this Chris Paul's window just closed all of a sudden? Because I think this is his best shot this time because, you look at some of the teams who aren't going to be there. They won 60-plus games, and then all of a sudden they get, to be at home for Game 7 and to be down by 40, 45 points.
I've never seen anything like it
before. I've never seen anything like it. That kind of pedigree and, essentially having, their star players and nothing go right for them. It was just hard to watch. It was hard to watch, man, unless you were down.
It just looked like they got punked, Max. It looked like they just didn't have the effort, especially someone like Booker. I was shocked to see him. What do you have, like 5 points at halftime and just really just going through the motions, but not fighting. I don't know. I was surprised by the lack of fight, and to see Chris Paul the way he was, man, like from the guy he was in the beginning of the series to who he is now, it's like it does. I guess it does drop off like that, but that happened quickly.
It went like it just took a
yeah.
And somebody was telling me, said, well, Chris Paul, when he got to be 37, was like boom. It's like
exactly
he just went over the hill. He couldn't knock down jump shots. They pressured him. It was hard for him to get the ball up. The guy who guarded him was one of my homeboys, Reggie Bullock. Did a great job. He was
he's
staying in front of Chris to bother him, make a couple of steals, and it just made it real uncomfortable because Chris Paul is the quarterback of that team. He sets the tone. He sets Booker up. He sets Aiden up. He sets all these shooters up, and they had nothing at all in the tank, man. It was one of the most bizarre games I could think of any 7th game that a team has ever played.
Especially for a team that was the favorite in it, right? The Phoenix Suns, the team that was number one pretty much throughout their whole regular season, and for them to lay an egg like that. And look, I had a feeling they were in trouble heading into Game 7. Obviously, we know what Luka can do and that supporting cast. And, man, Jalen Brunson is just taking things to a whole nother level in terms of what you expect from one of those guys. But I didn't expect that from Phoenix, man.
Well,
they just laid an egg.
If you had Phoenix and Milwaukee in the finals, well, you just lost some money because, obviously they're not going to be there. And I don't think anybody had Celtics going there. I remember you and I talked and we said, what was the best case? I was thinking, what was the best case scenario for the Celtics? That was to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. That was just to get there. Now that they're there and they're playing the way they are, this team has an excellent opportunity to go out and win. I think in Vegas right now that the odds are Celtics are second to Golden State. But man, it would be a one hell of a series. But to get out of this one first in Miami, it should be tough. It should be physical because Miami Heat, they're smart. And one of the things I know that's going to happen right now is Tucker is going to be all up in Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown and Tatum. He's going to be extremely physical, keep a body on them the whole time, not let them go any place. So there's some matchups that are going to be really good. I was so excited about the Marcus Smart, Jimmy Butler matchup. Now that Marcus's foot is, under the weather, I'm thinking like, oh, well, maybe not. But you're going to need Marcus in this series to win it. Yeah, if he doesn't play, it makes it extremely difficult for the Celtics right now to try to get the W.
We'll be here to recap it all, of course, throughout the course of the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll be back with a brand new episode of Cedric Maxwell Podcast and plenty of fun other stuff we'll talk about on the show. Coming from Miami and throughout the course of this series, man, I can't wait. It's going to be one hell of a series between the Celtics and the Miami Heat. You already know, guys. Subscribe, Cedric Maxwell Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. And, of course, check us out on CLNSmedia.com and follow the CLNS Media YouTube page if you haven't already. We'll see you guys next week.